We all know about the cookies and the green sashes, but you will love hearing from CEO Leanna Clark and Scout extraordinaire Rachel Petty how Girl Scouts of Colorado is on the forefront of creating tomorrow's female leaders through an incredible offering of life-changing programming, education, and opportunity. On this episode of Making Our World Better.
Welcome to the Making Our World Better podcast, where you will find motivation and encouragement through lively conversations with inspirational people who every day are making our world a better place. Now, here's your host, Jay Clark.
Welcome to the podcast. I am Jay Clark, and what a privilege to have a conversation with Leanna Clark, the CEO of Girl Scouts of Colorado, who is an amazingly accomplished leader with more than 25 years of leadership experience in Denver's corporate, foundation, and nonprofit communities. Prior to joining Girl Scouts, Leanna served as Vice Chancellor of University Communications for the University of Colorado, and before joining CU, she founded and led Philanthro Travel, a major division of the international nonprofit Project Cure. She also directed communications and led the foundation for IMA Financial Group and served as principal and co-owner of marketing PR firm Schenken. She currently serves on several community boards of directors, including the Denver Public Schools Foundation, Women's Forum of Colorado, the Metro Denver Economic Development Corporation, and many others. She's been recognized as one of the top 25 most powerful women in Colorado by the Colorado Women's Chamber, has been named a Woman of Distinction by the Girl Scouts of Colorado, who she now leads. She's also been honored twice by the Denver Business Journal as a business leader and has received national recognition from the Universal Press Syndicate as part of its WorkWise Awards, and was named a Woman of Achievement by the Association for Women in Communications. A Colorado native, she holds a degree in journalism from the University of Colorado at Boulder. As a girl dad, I can't wait to learn more about her current work with Girl Scouts that's dedicated to building girls of courage, confidence, and character. And I'm also super excited to be joined by Girl Scout superstar Rachel Petty, who's a sixth grader at Skyview Middle School in Colorado Springs. Gals, thanks so much for taking time for me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's a big pleasure.
Well, it's that time of year when everybody's overindulging in Thin Mints and Samoas, but the cookies are really just kind of a drop in the bucket of what your organization does from the little research I did. So I'd love for you to talk about the Girl Scout mission and how do you work to empower girls all the way from kindergarten through high school graduation.
Yeah, so I mean, the name of your podcast is perfect for us because our mission is to develop girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. So really, it's all about leadership development. So in Girl Scouts, girls learn by doing, surrounded by the safety of other girls and under the guidance of a supportive adult volunteer. So everything in Girl Scouts is girl-led. The girls are in charge. They're making the decisions. They're calling the shots. So they are dipping their toes into STEM. They're going on amazing outdoor adventures. They're selling cookies. And what's most important is what they learn through that process.
Right.
They're also trying new things, taking risks. They're learning how to fail. All lessons that are going to carry them through their lives. And along the way, they're making lifelong friends and having just an incredible amount of fun.
You know, Girl Scouts, I think, has great brand recognition. And even still, you have to be one of the largest youth organizations, period, in Colorado. And I think a lot of people would be stunned to hear about the size of and breadth of the organization. Can you talk a little bit about that?
In Colorado, Girl Scouts of Colorado, we serve about 15,000 girls across the state. And we have about 8,000 adult volunteers and 130 people on our staff. So yes, we are a larger organization to support the girls that we serve. Nationally, there are 112 Girl Scout councils in the U.S. We serve about 1 million girls in the U.S. and worldwide, about 2 million girls. And we are consistently ranked amongst the top 10 most recognized and most respected brands in the world.
Wow, that is something. So you have all these programs for girls to do so much more than they ever imagined. Yes, there's the cookie program, and I'd love to hear more about that, and I'll ask Rachel about that too. But walk us through some of these other programs. You touched on a little bit, some of these outdoor adventures and STEM and all this other cool leadership things that these girls get to do.
Sure. And maybe I'll say a little bit, and then Rachel, I'd love to hear kind of what your experience
Yeah.
has been. So in Girl Scouts, everything we do is around four pillars: life skills, entrepreneurship, which is primarily our product program, our cookie sales, STEM, and outdoor adventure. So outdoor being just a place where our camps are featured. We own about 1,600 acres of property around the state of Colorado. And Rachel can talk about some of her experiences there. So girls are trying new things. We have our patch and badge programs. You see girls, you see Rachel with the
Mm-hmm.
badges on the front of her vest.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of those is backed by a curriculum where the girl takes steps to learn different things to earn that badge. On the back are the patches. Those are a little bit more fun. They might just earn those for going ice skating or doing something fun. So it's a combination of this learning curriculum which is progressive, and fun things that they can do with their friends. And Rachel, maybe talk a little bit about, so for example, when we talk about outdoor, your camp experience and some of the experience you had at Sky High.
Yeah.
So I have been to camp a lot. I think my first year going to camp was Tomahawk, and then my next year, I think we did Sky High and Tomahawk, but I love both camps equally. They're amazing camps with amazing counselors who, they really like care for the girls, and it's really nice to be in a place where everyone wants to include you, where you can learn new things, and where you can meet new friends because recently, on the last Girl Scout summer camp I went to at Tomahawk Ranch, I went and I met one of my bestest friends, and I text them and call them every single day.
I
And
love it.
yeah, we just had an amazing time, and it's a great place to be able to meet new girls and feel included and learn new things. And at Sky High, they offer you're able to go on a zip line, go in a lake. We actually did this thing called the polar plunge, where you wake up early in the morning and you go out in your bathing suit into the freezing cold lake. So, yeah. And it's just like a really good experience, like for all ages. And I think you can learn anything there and make any friends. And personally, I've also made some friends with the counselors. Like, I know a few counselors at each camp that love and support me. And every time I go to camp, they're like, oh my gosh, Rachel. So,
And
yeah.
I just can't say enough for what that outdoor experience does. I was a Girl Scout and mostly a camp girl growing up here in Colorado. My
Right.
favorite camp counselors were Pijo and Freddie. Everyone has a camp name.
And you still remember them.
I still remember it.
Of course you do.
The horse that I learned to horseback ride on, his name was Diesel Smoke, and I still have a horsehair bracelet made from his horsehair. So it really
Wow.
does take you through a lifetime. And I would say the girls don't even realize everything that they're learning because they're having so much
I
fun.
was just going to say.
But if you drop me in the middle of nowhere with anyone, I would want to be with the Girl Scout because the resourcefulness, the self-confidence, the assurance of what they do in the outdoor environment is just it's amazing. And Rachel, I wonder, can we have Rachel tell one more story about
Please.
the first time that you ziplined at Sky High, Rachel, and how afraid you were and how you overcame it?
Of course. The first time I ziplined at Sky High, I was absolutely terrified because it's this huge, like, I forgot how long it was, but it's long. It's like the biggest zip line I've ever seen. And this giant zip line scared me. And I saw all the other girls just go on it and like scream all the way down and have a bunch of fun. And I was like, yeah, but like I don't want to go. I'm scared. And this camp counselor, I think it was actually a counselor in training. I'm pretty sure her name was Tree, and she encouraged me
Perfect.
to go on this zip line and that everything was okay. And yeah, so I was able to go on the zip line, no problem. And once I was done, I wanted to go again and again and again and again.
Nice.
So
I was going to say that's one of the things when you talk about these programs and the badges and everything else, there's such a huge component of it that's education and community service at the same time. So I just love that because you're like Rachel's just saying, you're kind of pushing kids almost out of their comfort zones, and that's where the growth happens, right?
For sure. It's definitely pushing them outside of their comfort zones, but it's also, they're surrounded by their troop.
Yeah.
It is a sisterhood. So there is safety in that. And we do
Oh,
believe in that all girls sort of environment where girls are more apt to take risks and try new things. And then there's always an adult, sometimes staff member, more often a volunteer who's a troop leader, or co-troop leaders who are maybe nudging girls in a certain direction or answering questions, but it's really up to the girls. We've had girls plan 6, 7 day outdoor backpacking trips and canoeing trips and
wow.
all on their own. I met a troop that is saving money through cookies to go to New York City, and they're planning every bit of it on their own.
Wow.
So yeah, it really is this experience they get of being the ones responsible for what they do and what their adventures are is really wonderful. But they still have this safety net of support of our volunteers and our staff.
But I love it because one of the things I love about that so much is that you are empowering them to take responsibility, to become leaders, and to realize, hey, I can do this. Because let's face it, we've made great strides and everything. I've seen this. We've made strides, but being a woman leader still is a difficult road. It's
It
hard.
is.
It's hard. So you're really providing skills and backgrounds to help these girls be ready for the challenges they're going to face.
Absolutely. I mean, we are raising the future leaders that our communities so need, who have both confidence and self-assurance and also empathy. Giving back is such a cornerstone of who we are as Girl Scouts. And I'm sure Rachel can talk about some of their service projects, but doing good for others is just part of who we are, even as we are looking towards raising girls who are confident and self-assured and know that they can do whatever it takes.
I love it. So, you've been with the organization now for a minute, up more than 25 years being a huge leader in the community. But is there something about Girl Scouts that still pleasantly surprises you?
Well, certainly the girls. I mean, every
Yeah,
time I get the chance to be, and what's been really cool is to see girls like Rachel grow. I've been here; it'll be 5 years in May, which to you and me, Jay,
that
is
would.
not that long of a time.
But
But
think of that.
in a girl's
Fifth grade to
time,
10th grade. That's a
that yes, I mean,
right.
Rachel, she's now taller than I am. When I met her, she, was like hip high. Um, and Rachel, when I met you, you were kind of shy. And just to see her grow and blossom into this young woman, so I think that's what's most satisfying for me is just the girls in general. And then I've gotten to know a lot of the girls pretty well, and to see them grow and see them mature. And what they learn from Girl Scouts, that is really, really satisfying. And I think I could say that for all my staff. That's why we do what we do.
Awesome. Well, Rachel, I'd love to hear what kind of drove you or motivated you to join Girl Scouts and kind of what keeps you in it.
So one day I forgot how old I was. I was itty bitty. And my mom came up to me and was like, "Hey, would you like to join Girl Scouts?" And I was like, that sounds fun. Let's go. And now what keeps me motivated to keep going and all of that is just how it's just a loving space of support where everyone is there for you. And you get to learn anything because in my troop, whatever the girls want to do is what we're gonna learn. So like if the girls want to do a detective project, we're gonna do the detective project. Do uh if we want to go to the Humane Society or learn about like animals or something like that, like we can. And also it gives me opportunities that otherwise I wouldn't be able to do, like for instance this
Awesome.
interview right now. So yeah, and
Speaking of outside of your comfort zone, I imagine.
yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. And, another thing I'd love to touch on, we touched on it briefly, is volunteers who obviously play
Yeah.
such a huge role in your operations and your mission. But what are some of the biggest reasons you think Girl Scouts are so successful when it comes to volunteer engagement that, maybe other organizations could learn from?
It's tough because
It is tough.
Girl Scouts is more than 100 years old, right?
Right.
So the model we have of troop leaders was created more than 100 years ago when, it's mostly moms, mostly women, although men and dads are more than welcome to be troop leaders. We do background checks, everything that we need to do.
Sure.
But it tends to be women, right? So
Right.
100 plus years ago, most women were staying at home. They weren't working. Shift forward to today,
Yeah.
it's a lot. So we are actually looking at ways that we can offload some of that from our troop leaders, from our volunteers, because it's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
It's also part of what makes this so special.
Right.
One of the things that we've done in Denver is opened what we call the Girl Scout Dream Lab. It's the very first one in the nation. We opened about 2 years ago. Now there's about a dozen others across the nation, but we were first. It's a physical place that represents everything that there is to do with Girl Scouting. So we have
Oh, wow.
a mini tent and a faux campfire. We have a mini climbing wall. We have a STEM area. We have a podcast booth. We actually produce our own podcast with girl voices
Nice.
once a month. So that's awesome for girls to gather there and create community, especially post
Hmm.
COVID. And it
Yeah.
also hopefully eases the burden on volunteers because you'll have volunteers looking for church basements, libraries, someplace to
Yeah.
meet, which is hard, and then
Yep.
lugging all this stuff in for a troop meeting.
Right.
So the Dream Lab takes some of that off of them. We'd like to be able to open more around the state. We're trying to perfect this first one before we do that, but just looking at ways that we can make volunteers' lives easier because we know that it is a heavy lift, and frankly, that's what one of the barriers to making sure that more girls can be Girl
Right.
Scouts is making sure that we have those volunteers. So it's a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we're recruiting volunteers just as we're recruiting girls.
And that's, as the CEO, that's one of your things. It's relentless, always having to raise money and always having to find volunteers.
Yep.
That's what keeps you spinning, right? But,
Yes.
building on that a little bit, I would love to hear, what are some of the core leadership principles that you continue to lean on that you've learned through your career that could be helpful to other leaders?
Um, I'm the person who doesn't shy away from the messy stuff.
Love
So
that.
often especially again, we're 112 years old. There's things that Girl Scouts have been doing forever just because
Hmm.
we've been doing them forever. And sometimes you
Yeah.
need to look at those things and pry them apart and say, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
So I think being willing to ask questions and an innate curiosity, I think is very important to a leader to when you see something that gets that spidey sense tingling to dig into it and see what's going on there, and to be willing to trudge through the muck to make things as good as possible. I think is really important. Certainly, being humble is important for a leader. I learned something from our girls each and every day, and you can never forget that you are only as good as the people that you lead. And in this case, the girls are my biggest teachers. They're just amazing. And then, being willing to take risks. That's one thing that I think is so important that
Yeah.
we teach our girls is that it's okay to fail. And so taking risks, learning how to fail, learning how to be resilient when that happens, and what can you learn from it to go forward, is, I think, one of the most important things we can teach girls. I had a good friend once say to me, it's probably 20 years ago, I was thinking about leaving a current job I was in, maybe doing something else, but I couldn't decide. And she said, sometimes you need to leave base camp to find the trail. And I just love that because it's a Colorado hiking metaphor, right?
Writing that down.
You got to leave the safety of base camp sometimes to find where the trail starts. And you can't just trust that it's always going to fall in your lap. So you got to be willing to, just put on your big girl boots and just trudge in and take that risk.
I love it. Well, I wrote down innate curiosity. That's such a great line. But what is a big audacious goal? I love the lab. That sounds like that could really become a national model.
Yes.
That other people could use all over in your 112 different councils. But what are some big audacious goals that you have for Girl Scouts of Colorado, and really what keeps you excited about the future?
I would love to see every single girl in the state of Colorado joining Girl Scouts. And I know that is a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, but we would love that. There's just so much the Girl Scouts can offer every single girl. So making sure that girls realize that Girl Scouts is for them, regardless of their background, their zip code, anything, Girl Scouts is for them. We have troops who are, we have a differently abled troop, several of them.
That's
we have
awesome.
troops that are more focused on the outdoors. We are doing camps that are focused on neurodivergent girls, girls from different communities and different backgrounds, LGBTQ plus girls. So really trying to make sure that every girl knows that she has a home in Girl Scouts. So my big audacious goal would be every single girl in the state of Colorado is a Girl Scout, and that we continue to raise these amazing young women leaders who are going to be the future of our world.
I love it, because when you talk about inclusion, that just goes to show you guys are walking the walk, which is fantastic. Rachel, I would love this question for you is, how has Girl Scouts helped you in other parts of your life? Mostly, how's it helped you in school and being a student?
Girl Scouts has helped me in many different ways. One of the most one of the biggest ways that it has helped me is through being shy, or through not being shy, I guess. Because the first time I joined Girl Scouts, I was super scared of everyone, super shy, and especially through selling Girl Scout cookies has helped me, because like I said, when I first joined Girl Scouts, I was shy and everything, but I also had a huge stutter. And now that I have been talking to, so Girl Scouts has helped me with overcoming my stutter. And now I've learned how to talk to millions of different types of people. And it has taught me, like, just a bunch of things. I can't name them all, but like I said, the stutter, it can help me in class, because actually, before I joined Girl Scouts, people used to make fun of me for my stutter all the time. And it was really bad. Now that I don't have that stutter, it is a little bit better, and I can,
You're engaging with the world.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And with being able to talk to all different types of people means I can talk to different people, I can make new friends of all different people, and so, yeah, it's really helped me.
Well, one thing I've seen with Rachel, when I met Rachel, she lived in Meeker, Colorado. Population, I don't know, 3,000?
Yeah,
Small
2,000.
2,000? So that year, Rachel sold 6,060 packages.
4,000.
4,000.
That was the next year.
That was
I'm
the
pretty
next year
sure.
she sold 6,000. So,
Wow.
but my point being, she sold more packages of cookies than the population of the town that she lived in.
I love that.
So, and then she moved to Colorado Springs, which is a much larger community. And
Right.
Rachel, I think I remember you saying moving to Colorado Springs was easier because of Girl Scouts. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Um, Moving to Colorado Springs was a bit easier because of Girl Scouts, in a few different ways. First of all, it was easier because I knew that I could I could immediately go into this new place that I've never been before, and I could find a, a troop that had girls who loved and supported me no matter what, and kind of just move there and automatically have this little friend group.
Right. Your own ecosystem. I love
And
it.
yeah, so that's been good. And also, moving to Colorado Springs has been helped by Girl Scouts because um, um it just slipped out of my mind. Shoot.
I think that's it. You had a kind of a built-in support system
Exactly.
where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
knew you would be accepted because it is this. I mean, it's you have your troop, right? But if you're a Girl Scout, you can talk to Girl Scouts from all over the world. We have this thing called SWAPs, which stands for Special Whatchamacallits Affectionately Pinned Somewhere. I wish I had one right around, but they're little doodads, usually on a
Yeah.
pin, and they represent, like, girls have given me ones that look like a sleeping bag rolled up or look like a s'more, and you exchange them when you meet a girl from another country. So there is this
Oh,
sisterhood,
wow.
right? And that's just a representation of that
Yeah.
sisterhood. But you just know that if someone is a Girl Scout, we have kind of our own language, we have our own traditions, and you are welcomed and embraced.
Right. And it is going to be a safe space, which has to
Yeah,
take out so much anxiety. Oh my gosh, I'm moving to a new place.
right.
Am I going to be able to meet people? Yes. All that anxiety immediately goes away, which I love it. So one of the last things I'd love to touch on a little bit more is the cookie program.
Yeah.
And I love the kind of the entrepreneurial piece of this because I'm a huge believer that empowers you. So I would love to talk for you to talk a little bit more details about that.
Yes, so our cookie program is going on right now, and this is
Yep.
this is when we're most visible, right?
Yep.
People are seeing the girls selling cookies. Um, and what's most important, of course, the cookies are delicious. I will sit and
Yep.
eat an entire package in one sitting, as so many people. But
I
what's more
cast no
important,
stones.
what's more important is what our girls learn through the process of selling
Hmm.
cookies. So they're really running their own small business. It's their first taste of being an entrepreneur. They're learning goal setting. Girls set a goal for number of packages they want to sell. Decision making. If you've ever seen a cookie booth, and girls are making decisions on the spot. Money management when they're making change. People skills, presentation skills. As Rachel mentioned, they're talking to hundreds
Um,
of adults that they've never met who are coming up to their booth.
right.
Business ethics, even digital marketing, because these days they're building their own website as well. So
Wow.
all of these are skills that are going to carry them through a lifetime. So I like to tell folks, when you go up to a cookie booth, ask the girl, what's your goal? What are you saving money for? I was driving around this past weekend visiting booths, and I met a troupe who is raising money to do a service project for refugee kids. I met
Ugh.
another troupe who's raising money to go on an outdoor adventure trip to Belize. So
Ugh.
those are the kinds of things the girls make money for themselves and their troop that they use to fund some of the amazing things that they do. All the dollars stay here in Colorado and fund the Girl Scout mission. So, and where I've seen Rachel grow through the program, as she's noted, just coming out of her shell,
Yeah.
has been really great.
And those are skills, regardless if you start your own business or not, that
Right.
will help you in any career path, regardless. So, as we wind down, I'll wrap up with my last few questions. This one's for both of you. I'd love to hear both of your answers to this one, and that is, what is something you will read, listen to, or watch today?
So I read the New York Times every day, probably a little too obsessively. I am a news junkie. So I'm happy to be exposed to this podcast too, so I can start listening to it. I'm an information hound.
That's your PR route.
Yeah, it is. So the New York Times is something I will definitely read today. Rachel, is there anything that you read or listen to or watch each day?
I can't think of anything I watch or read or listen to each day, but sometimes I do read books from time to time, so.
Good. Those are good for you,
Nice.
Rachel.
Nice. So here's one that both of you could answer as well. I would love to hear is who really has been a role model for you, Leanna, especially throughout your career and the work you're doing today, and Rachel, who's really touched you and is somebody that you look up to?
I mean, I will say that in this current job, the girls are a role model for me. I mean, girls like Rachel are just
Wow.
amazing. In my career, there are a couple of women in the Denver community that have been friends for decades and have just accomplished so much. Maria Garcia Berry,
Hmm.
who's CRL associate, who was born in Cuba, who came over at the age of 6 to the U.S. and has become just this amazing force of nature. Donna Lynn, who is currently CEO of Denver Health, was our lieutenant governor. So to see, and both of them, by the way, have been honored by the Girl Scouts as women of distinction. So to see women like that and what they've been able to do, and from very humble roots,
Yeah.
inspirational to me. And I think they are the types of people I think of when I think about our girls and where I hope that who they will become someday.
Well, and similar to you, think of where their fingerprints are on this city. I
Right.
mean, Maria Garcia's
And
fingerprints are
Crawford,
everywhere on this,
right.
right? And
Dana Crawford is another
another.
one who we just honored last fall,
Yep.
and who just passed away. I mean, these
Right.
women have changed the
Yeah.
face of our nation and our state.
Agreed. Rachel, is there somebody that you really look up to?
Personally, I really look up to Leanna because she is an amazing woman who has really been there for me through it all. She's been there through my highs, through my lows, and she's always there to support me, and she supports every girl. She she's just so sweet and loving, and she has showed me that basically anyone can do anything if you put your mind to it, and that every individual girl, every individual person in this world deserves love and respect. And Leanna has just been there for me through everything, and I hope that someday I can be there through everything with someone too.
Oh, thank you,
Future
Rachel. You
CEO,
made
look
my
out.
day.
No kidding. There's our future CEO in 20
Yeah,
years.
she
I
is.
love it. This one will probably be a little bit harder. I call it the Sophie's Choice question, especially since you're on so many boards. But other than Girl Scouts of Colorado, is there an organization out there that you really admire the work they're doing or want to give a shout out to?
So I really like some of the organizations that are encouraging girls and women to run for office.
Oh,
It's just so important that we have
agreed.
women in leadership at that level. So I know She Should Run and Emerge are two of them that I just think are doing amazing work, encouraging girls like Rachel to think about a career in public service and running for office. And I just can't wait to see that first female president. And I bet she's going to be a Girl Scout.
I'm hoping that happens sooner than later for sure. So lastly, and most importantly, probably, what is the best way for somebody to find you, support you, volunteer, and just become part of the Girl Scouts community?
You can go to our website, Girl Scouts of Colorado, girlscoutsofcolorado.org. Right now, you will find a cookie finder on the homepage where you put in your zip code and show you cookies around you.
Dangerous.
There's also a volunteer button. There's a donate button and other ways to get engaged, but primarily volunteer. We would love for folks to join us to become troop leaders, to volunteer in different ways, and to help us mold these girls into the leaders of tomorrow.
I love it. Well, you guys are doing such great work. I'm so honored to have spent the time with you. Keep it up. Rachel, good luck in your future. Leanna, good luck for you, both of you all, as you do this important work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to Leanna and Rachel for a great conversation. This podcast was brought to you by JC Charity Services. Positivity is the competitive advantage, and as a John Gordon certified trainer, I can help you transform your mindset, leadership, and team. You can find me at makingourworldbetter.com. Let's connect and make it happen for you. To learn more about Girl Scouts of Colorado and support its awesome work, visit girlscoutsofcolorado.org. Check the show notes for links, and if you enjoyed this episode, we'd be grateful if you'd share it with a friend. Until next time, I hope you're inspired to find a way to make our world better.